Hello and welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION The World. I'm Jyotsna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines. U.S. President Donald Trump says he will go ahead with his speech no matter what after a July 4th celebration was evacuated due to an approaching severe thunderstorm. Fireworks light up the night sky over New York City as the U.S. celebrates its 250th Independence Day. U.S. President Donald Trump says Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu knows who the boss is. He elaborates on their ties and says the Israeli leader has requested a meeting at the White House. Iran's defense chief vows a decisive response if commitments under its Memorandum of Understanding with the U.S. are violated as the two sides prepare for technical talks on July 11th in Pakistan. Chinese President Xi Jinping says he is ready to work with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to steer their bilateral ties towards long-term, sound, and stable development. Death toll from Venezuela's twin earthquake rises to 3,000 as international rescue teams begin winding down search operations for survivors in the rubble. Firefighters continue operations through the night as wildfire rages in forested area of Greece. India has notified rules of origin for the India-UK Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, enabling its rollout from July 15th. The rules define which goods qualify for preferential tariffs, ensuring only eligible products receive trade benefits under the pact. Kylian Mbappe sends France into the World Cup quarterfinals after its penalties secures a 1-0 win over Paraguay for the two-time champions. The United States is celebrating a historic milestone, the 250th anniversary of its independence, with grand parades, fireworks, military displays, and nationwide festivities. But extreme weather have cast a shadow over these celebrations, forcing event cancellations, disrupting schedules, and prompting massive safety measures. Now, Americans across the country turned out in large numbers to celebrate 250 years of U.S. independence, with festivities stretching from New York and Philadelphia to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The centerpiece of the celebrations was the National Mall, where thousands gather for the America 250 Fair. Military flyovers, concerts, and a spectacular firework display was to behold. U.S. President Donald Trump has now vowed to address the nation no matter what, despite severe weather and extreme heat. He was set to deliver the keynote speech on the National Mall before the fireworks display. Furthermore, earlier Vice President J.D. Vance kicked off the day's celebration aboard the USS Kearsarge in New York Harbor.
Have a part. All of us had our part, our role to play in creating 250 years of a proud American story. And all of us will need to do our part to create the next 250 years of American greatness. So I say to all my fellow Americans, I'm proud of you. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to our great nation. Today, my friends, we celebrate. And tomorrow we get back to work. God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Despite temperatures nearing 100 degrees Fahrenheit, that's around 38 degrees Celsius, crowds continue to pour into the fairgrounds, with many calling the historic anniversary a once-in-a-lifetime event. Organizers distributed free water, opened cooling areas, installed misting stations, and urged visitors to stay hydrated. But the extreme weather also disrupted celebrations, but the enthusiasm still existed among the people who came to celebrate.
Just so thrilled to be here on the 4th of July. We love America, we love our country, and we think this fair is just a really great way to show off all of our country's assets from west to east coast, everything in between. So we were excited to kind of come, try out some food, and visit all the states, and just celebrate being an American.
Now, the America 250 Fair on the National Mall was temporarily shut down after several visitors suffered heat-related illnesses, forcing thousands to evacuate. National Guard personnel and even staff directed people to air-conditioned museums and metro stations before the fair reopened later in the evening with additional cooling measures. Now, Washington's annual Independence Day parade was also canceled because of the dangerous temperatures, while several outdoor programs were postponed or modified. Now, the heat wave has affected much of eastern United States, with nearly 160 million Americans placed under major or extreme heat warnings. In New York City, authorities opened cooling centers and extended public swimming pool hours as the heat index climbed above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Even so, from packed fairgrounds and fairgrounds and patriotic gatherings to fireworks lighting up the night sky, millions of Americans pressed ahead with celebrations determined to mark the nation's 250th birthday despite one of the hottest Independence Day weekends on record. All right, shifting our focus, negotiations between the United States of America and Iran are scheduled to resume talks on July 11th. According to reports, the talks are expected to be hosted by Pakistan. The discussions will happen after the conclusion of the funeral ceremony for Iran's late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. U.S. sanctions on Tehran, the release of Iran's frozen funds, and the future of Iran's nuclear program are the three key issues that are set to dominate the next round of talks. The latest development follows the indirect talks which took place in Doha, which the U.S. President Donald Trump described as very good. While Iranian officials claim the two sides agreed on a partial release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets, U.S. officials have reportedly denied any such agreement. The negotiations come after the U.S. and Iran signed a memorandum of understanding 2 weeks ago, which gave them 60 days to negotiate a final deal covering Iran's nuclear program. As West Asia enters another crucial diplomatic phase, U.S. President Donald Trump told Axios that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu asked him for a meeting at the White House and that Netanyahu knows who the boss is. Well, Trump also said that it could take place as early as next week after he returns from the NATO summit. Now, Trump said he shares a good relationship with Netanyahu. Netanyahu's office has also confirmed that both leaders agreed to meet soon in the United States. And if the meeting takes place, it will be their first since February, when the two leaders discuss Israel's military campaign against Iran. And this comes amid an earlier report by New York Times. U.S. officials feared Israel could attempt to assassinate senior Iranian negotiators during delicate nuclear and ceasefire talks with Iran. Now, the report says Washington even asked regional countries to warn Iran that Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf could be targeted. American officials reportedly believe such an attack would collapse negotiations, end hopes of a peace agreement, and trigger renewed fighting. The New York Times also reports that the Trump administration's priorities increasingly diverged from Israel's, with Washington pushing for diplomacy while Israel remains skeptical of negotiations with Iran. Israel has strongly denied the report, as Prime Minister Netanyahu's office calling it fake news and a complete fabrication. Meanwhile, according to Axios, Trump claimed Iran is eager to strike a deal. He said talks have been paused until the funeral ceremonies for former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei conclude. Now, Trump also said neither side would launch attacks during the funeral period, even as Iran has warned both the United States and Israel against any military action during the ceremonies. Now, Britain, France, and Oman have unveiled a major maritime security initiative aiming at restoring the navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. The agreement comes at a time when concerns over shipping security through the Strait of Hormuz continue to be a major concern since the escalation of the U.S.-Iran war, which began on 28th of February. The Strait of Hormuz carries nearly 1/5 of the world's oil and LNG supplies, making any disruption a global economic concern. As per the agreement, Oman will work with Britain and France to secure navigation within its sovereign territorial waters. London and Paris have also declared their readiness to deploy a wider multinational military mission. This in an attempt to safeguard freedom of navigation and keep commercial shipping lanes open. The initiative comes after British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with Oman's Sultan Haitham bin Tariq, where both leaders discussed restoring confidence among global shipping companies. The agreement, however, carries significant geopolitical implications. Iran was quick to react to the development, as an official warned all three nations over the development. In a social media post, Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi says that Iran is the responsible power and guarantor of the strait's security and warned against any military movement in the waterway. The security of Hormuz lies with the coastal states. Well, for Oman, the move represents a notable shift from its traditional neutral role in regional diplomacy. By inviting Western partners to help secure its waters, Muscat is placing greater emphasis on protecting maritime commerce and regional stability. Global energy markets are closely watching developments, although oil prices have eased following the recent U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, and analysts caution that the situation remains fragile. Any military confrontation or renewed restrictions on shipping through the strait could rapidly drive crude prices sharply higher and once again disrupt global supply chains. A massive Russian glide bomb strike on the center of the northern Ukrainian city of Sumy, killing at least 4 people, including a child, on Friday and injured 33. Other areas in Sumy region and in southeastern Ukraine, closer to the front lines, also came under Russian attack, killing a total of 7 people. The State Emergency Service of Ukraine in the Sumy region released a video showing medics attending to the injured. A strip of pavement covered in blood, along with 2 abandoned sandals and firefighters clearing rubble from a damaged building. Now, Regional Governor Ole Krarov said that the dead included a 5-year-old child and her mother. A massive blaze also engulfed production buildings at a poultry farm in Ukraine's Kherson region. And despite the constant threat of further attacks, emergency crews brought the raging fire under control and no casualties were reported. Firefighters were seen battling a major blaze after the Russian airstrike hit a shopping mall in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk, injuring at least 5 people, including a child, while rescue crews are repeatedly taking shelter amid the threat of follow-up attacks. While in Zaporizhzhia, vehicles were set ablaze by Russian-guided bomb strikes as rescue crews continued operations at multiple impact sites. According to Ukrainian authorities, 34 apartment buildings and 37 private homes sustained various degrees of damage across several districts of the city.
All the glass on this side is broken, absolutely everything. It's good that I was lying down because if I had, God forbid, stood up, I don't know. Grandpa was cut by the glass. He's a bedridden patient.
In terms of numbers, about 16 apartment buildings were damaged, with about 150 windows blown out and their entire roofs damaged. A high school was also damaged, with over 100 windows blown out.
On the other hand, Kiev has denied Moscow's announcement that Russian forces had captured the strategic city of Konstantinivka, a stronghold for Kiev's troops in the eastern Donetsk region and a key target for the Kremlin. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin had announced the capture of the Ukrainian stronghold, saying that Russian armed forces were maintaining the strategic initiative.
The Russian armed forces continue to confidently maintain the strategic initiative in the zone of the special military operation, and the liberation of Konstantinivka is of major strategic importance.
The battle for the city, which had around 78,000 inhabitants before the war, has been taking place since late 2025 and now constitutes the main Russian effort on a front more than 1,000 kilometers long. A Ukrainian army spokesperson said that the situation remains difficult in the region, but the city remains under control. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that his forces were able to hit a major oil terminal in Russia's St. Petersburg. He described it as a key infrastructure that generates revenue for Russia's war, though there's no confirmation so far. Ukrainian forces also pressed their counteroffensive to retake the Russian-occupied southern region of Kherson, while a team of UN experts were en route to inspect the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which is targeted by fresh shelling over the weekend. Now, that toll in the twin quake in Venezuela has climbed to nearly 3,000. While search and rescue operations have been going on for over 2 weeks, tens of thousands are still missing. Bodies are being taken out from collapsed buildings, with police officials and forensics teams loading them into investigation vehicles for proper identification and handover to the families. A 12-year-old survivor who was trapped for 30 hours under rubble after her house collapsed recalls her time under the debris.
All the debris fell on my back. Nothing fell on top of me, thank God. And in there, in that triangle of life, because I ended up in the famous triangle of life, I was able to position myself on my back just like they show in the videos.
Now, she has now become famous as a girl with a smile due to her calm behavior during the rescue operation. Now, rescue efforts, primarily ongoing for over 2 weeks in La Guaira, are now coming to an end in a facilitation ceremony. Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, handed out medals to international teams for their contribution in the post-disaster relief measures, signaling that the government is now moving to close the relief efforts and move towards redevelopment of the areas hit hardest.
por el agradecimiento.
We are deeply grateful to each and every one of you, the rescue workers who were here, risking your own safety to save others. I can't imagine a more beautiful sight than a citizen of the world crossing borders to help a fellow human being. Thank you on behalf of the Venezuelan people.
In the relief efforts, over 6,462 individuals have been rescued, according to figures shared by National Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez. Interim President Delcy Rodriguez's government, despite these efforts, has come under stark criticism from citizens who continue to call out the government for its slow response, as families had initially taken upon themselves digging before the international teams arrived. Now, for years, Donald Trump dismissed cryptocurrencies as a scam, and today they have become the biggest driver of his personal fortune. Well, Trump's latest financial disclosure shows more than $1.4 billion in reported income, with millions coming from crypto ventures linked to his family. And the figures are also renewing questions over the misuse of presidential policy, private business interests, and the future of digital assets. Take a look at our next report for more details. Donald Trump's latest financial disclosure shows cryptocurrency has become the biggest contributor to his personal wealth. The filing reveals that he reported more than $1.4 billion in income. With nearly $800 million linked to World Liberty Financial, the crypto venture co-founded by Trump and his sons. Trump also earned an estimated $635 million from licensing his personal meme coin. The Donald Trump coin has lost roughly 98% of its value. Responding to questions, Trump said he is not involved in managing his finances, adding that professional fund managers handle his investments. He also attributed his profits to the rising stock market.
I don't get involved in my personal, we have funds that run my money. And I never speak to any of the people that run the money, but they're at big institutions and they invest in whatever they invest in. Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up. Everybody's.
Trump's return to the White House initially sparked optimism across the cryptocurrency industry. During his campaign, he pledged to make the United States the global crypto capital and followed through by appointing crypto-friendly regulators, backing a strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal, and supporting legislation aimed at providing regulatory clarity for digital assets. Enforcement actions against several crypto firms were also rolled back. Despite that supportive policy environment, cryptocurrency markets have struggled. After surging to record highs following Trump's election victory, Bitcoin has fallen by more than 50% from its peak, while many other digital assets have also declined. Analysts say investors have shifted money towards AI-related assets. Meanwhile, critics argue that regulatory decisions, including a softer approach towards meme coins and the expansion of stablecoin legislation, have benefited businesses linked to the Trump family. The numbers tell a story. While 58 investors reportedly made more than $10 million each trading Trump's meme coin, blockchain data shows around 764,000 crypto wallets ended up with losses. Even as token prices declined sharply, Trump's businesses continued generating revenue through transaction fees and token sales. Analysts say that despite recent market volatility, digital assets will remain one of the defining themes of Trump's business empire and economic agenda. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One. All right, next up, let's take a look at some of the images that have been drawing attention from across the world. right, that's a wrap on World DNA for today. News and updates will follow on the other side. Just a reminder to our viewers in India that you can watch all 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in and catch all the action.
As the first half of 2026 comes to an end, we look at the role of animation and the rise of anti-romance films. Know all about the big-ticket releases lined up for the next 6 months and meet actor Mayank Chang as he discusses his Indian-Chinese roots. All this and much more with me, Rhythm Sharma, on WION E-Club at these times.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
On Wings this week, we cover the Amarnath Yatra as the pilgrimage begins this week. We also look to the United States, which celebrates 250 years. Also on Wings this week, how a Swiss city hosts a folk tradition as the Yodeling Festival takes place in Basel. Only on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan John now. Let's start with the headlines. US President Donald Trump says he will go ahead with his speech no matter what after a July 4th celebration was evacuated due to an approaching severe thunderstorm. Air Force One flies above Washington, D.C., accompanied by 4 F-22 Raptors. Flyover as part of the 250th anniversary of U.S. independence celebrations. Former Russian President Medvedev warns Iran's ability to close the Strait of Hormuz would be comparable in effect to nuclear weapons as he heads to the funeral of Iran's late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. US President Donald Trump says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu knows who the boss is, and he elaborates on their ties and says the Israeli leader has requested a meeting at the White House. Chinese President Xi Jinping says he is ready to work with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to steer their bilateral ties towards long-term sound and stable development. India has lifted restrictions on domestic gas supplies after LNG shipments through the Strait of Hormuz resumed normally. Improved imports eased supply concerns, allowing the government to restore gas allocation to industries and other consumers affected by earlier curbs. France captain Kylian Mbappe says his side proved they are capable of winning ugly as well as playing attractive football as they enter World Cup quarterfinals after securing a 1-0 win over Paraguay. A massive Russian glide bomb strike on the center of the northern Ukrainian city of Sumy killed at least 4 people, including a child, on Friday and injured 33. Other areas in Sumy region and in southeastern Ukraine closer to the front lines also came under Russian attack, killing a total of 7 people. Now, the State Emergency Service of Ukraine in the Sumy region released a video showing medics attending to the injured, a strip of pavement covered in blood along with 2 abandoned sandals, and firefighters clearing rubble from a damaged building. Regional Governor Ole Ryorov said that the dead included a 5-year-old child and her mother. A massive blaze also engulfed production buildings at a poultry farm in Ukraine's Kherson region. Despite the constant threat of further attacks, emergency crews brought the raging fire under control and no casualties reported. Firefighters were seen battling a major blaze after the Russian airstrike hit a shopping mall in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk, injuring at least 5 people, including a child, while rescue crews are repeatedly taking shelter amid the threat of follow-up attacks. While in Zaporizhia, vehicles were set ablaze by Russian glide bomb strikes as rescue crews continued operations at multiple impact sites. According to Ukrainian authorities, 34 apartment buildings and 37 private homes sustained varying degrees of damage across several districts of the city.
In terms of numbers, about 16 apartment buildings were damaged, with about 150 windows blown out and their entire roofs damaged. A high school was also damaged, with over 100 windows blown out.
On the other hand, Kiev has denied Moscow's announcement that Russian forces had captured the strategic city of Kostiantynivka, a stronghold for Kiev's troops in the eastern Donetsk region and a key target for the Kremlin. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin had announced the capture of the Ukrainian stronghold, saying that Russian armed forces were maintaining the strategic initiative.
The Russian armed forces continue to confidently maintain the strategic initiative in the zone of the special military operation, and the liberation of Kostiantynivka is of major strategic importance.
The battle for this city, which had around 78,000 inhabitants before the war, has been taking place since late 2025 and now constitutes the main Russian effort on a front line more than 1,000 kilometers long. A Ukrainian army spokesperson said that the situation remains difficult in the region, but the city remains under control. Well, in the meantime, Ukrainian President Zelensky announced that his forces were able to hit a major oil terminal in Russia's St. Petersburg. He described it as key infrastructure that generates revenue for Russia's war, though there's no confirmation so far. Amidst the fresh exchange of fire between Russia and Ukraine, US President Donald Trump spoke with Putin and Zelensky over the phone. Officials from both sides said that the calls were both to mark the 250th anniversary of the United States and to discuss the conflict in Ukraine ahead of a NATO summit in Ankara. According to Russia's foreign policy aide Yuri Ushakov, both Putin and Trump spoke for 85 minutes as Putin outlined the actual situation on the battlefield, where Russian armed forces are advancing confidently. On the other hand, Zelensky said that he and Trump had also discussed 4 years of war in his country, calling it a very good phone call. US is celebrating a historic milestone. It's the 250th anniversary of US independence, with grand parades, fireworks, military displays and nationwide festivities. But extreme weather have cast a shadow over the celebrations, forcing event cancellations, disrupting schedules and prompting massive safety measures as well. Americans across the country, they turned out in large numbers to celebrate 250 years of US independence, with festivities stretching from New York City and Philadelphia to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The centerpiece of the celebrations was the National Mall, where thousands gathered for the America 250 fair. Military flyovers, concerts and a spectacular fireworks display. US President Donald Trump, who has now vowed to address the nation no matter what, despite severe weather and extreme heat. He was set to deliver the keynote speech on the National Mall before the fireworks display. Earlier, Vice President J.D. Vance kicked off the day's celebrations aboard USS Kearsarge in the New York harbor.
All of us have a part. All of us had our part, our role to play in creating 250 years of a proud American story. And all of us will need to do our part to create the next 250 years of American greatness. So I say to all my fellow Americans, I'm proud of you. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to our great nation. Today, my friends, we celebrate. And tomorrow we get back to work. God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Despite temperatures nearing 100 degrees Fahrenheit or around 38 degrees Celsius, crowds continue to pour into the fairgrounds, with many calling the historic anniversary a once-in-a-lifetime event. Organizers distributed free water, opened cooling areas, installed misting stations, and even urged visitors to stay hydrated. But the extreme weather also disrupted